Let's get ready to rumble.
Yes, we're back. It's episode 106 of the Hibs Ramble. We are back again. It's a foursome this evening. It's your host tonight, Liam, and I'm joined by Craig, Shaun, and Marc. How are we, guys?
Miserable.
All good, mate. All good.
All good. What have we been up to?
I've been refreshing
Anyone?
the for the past 72 hours just reading everything.
Lovely. Lovely when you had him there. That was brilliant.
I know that was a fucking joke. Shaun, why don't you give us a wee update of what you've been up to the last couple of days? Because I actually had the pleasure of going into Shaun's room that he's in right now. I was in there yesterday. We were having a little bit
Weird
of fun.
about that.
No, we were just having a wee bit of fun. We were, taking some clothes off of the hangers, looking at the shirts and that.
We know there's something juicy going on at Hibs when there's all four of us on the podcast, so that's a start. But yes, I have been up to the post office and back, so I had the pleasure of Liam's company for all of 20 minutes last night, while he said that he didn't have time to post the Leaf 7 stuff, so it took an hour to bring it to me, and then probably an hour to go home, and by the time we got home, I had already packaged it up and posted it. So if you're expecting a Leaf 7 delivery, it's on its way, and it'll be with you by the end of the week.
Thanks to Shaun.
Thanks
Not
to Shaun.
thanks to Liam.
Well, I mean, kind of half thanks to me because I had to. Well, I was there. I mean, and I put some of the stuff into piles, Shaun. So
Liam just wanted an excuse to come to my house.
it's fucking big, by the way. Have you been there, Craig?
Nah,
A big, large house. It's a large house.
We're supposed to be getting an invite and it's not
It's
happening.
interesting that you asked Craig, but not Mark. And
No, I know that Marc's not been up to your house.
Actually, I have been to Shaun's house.
That's a lie. Have you actually?
Me and Shaun go way back, mate. We used to work together years ago.
All right.
But no, I've not been to
But
his
you've not been to that house, no.
No.
I would actually, as factually correct as that is, Mark, I would argue me and Liam go further back.
Yeah, I think me and Shaun go further back.
Oh, well. Good for yous.
Get it.
But I know who I'd
fucking
rather.
up
I know who I'd rather have around my house first, and it's not the person that was here last night.
It'll be me.
I honestly didn't care why I fucking bother anymore.
Right,
Honestly.
should we start talking about Hibs?
No, first, before we start talking about Hibs, I want to give us, as a podcast, massive congratulations because we have been targeted on Twitter by porn bots who have been commenting underneath some of our recent posts.
We've made it, guys. We've made it.
Yeah, well, there was one that we put up of the guy that goes, tough times never last, only tough people last. That guy, right? And that one of the porn bots was like, tough times last with me or something, and then like a picture of her tits. So it was it was kind of a pinch me moment, to be honest.
McClendo's been scammed 3 times already by the bio.
I just keep clicking on the link, I can't help it.
Mark, you just told him he's been scammed. That's the first time he's realised. He's just wondering he's not got it yet. That's why he keeps paying again.
She keeps telling me that the payment's not going through. Bairns are starving. I'm spending all my money on a fake porn star. Right. Let's talk about Hibernian FC. And firstly, before we get into any statement stuff, obviously, that came out yesterday, that's probably going to be the bulk of this episode. I wanted to chat just quickly, kind of not glossing over it, but quickly about the St Mirren game at the weekend. Craig, I know you were there. I don't. Were you two there, Shaun and Marc? I don't know if you were there.
I was not.
No, thank God I wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't great. First half performance was pretty poor. Craig, you've probably got the best view out of the lot of us. Where you sit in the famous 5. You said a couple of times in the group chat that you just don't see any style of play or what we're trying to do at the moment, and I think that was kind of encompassed in the whole of the first half.
I think that's quite possibly one of the worst halves of football I've ever seen.
Kilmarnock away this season when we drew 1-1, that was definitely worse.
No, Mark, trust me, this was.
I watched the game, but that command.
Mark, was that the one where Neil Lennon played 5 subs? No, 5 subs, 5
No,
defenders.
that's
No,
season.
this season
This
when
season, right,
they
okay.
scored right at
So
the
many
death, but
terrible
the
games.
first half, I think the ball had to go to A&E after that first half. It didn't get touched the ground. Anyway,
Yeah, there was nothing. The first half was, in terms of, because obviously we were 2-0 down, quite possibly the worst half of football I've ever seen. The only bright spark you would say in the first half was the moment where Ellie kind of made a chance for himself and hit the post. But beyond that, just a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
Just so much
Woeful
nothing.
defending again, though,
See,
Shaun.
just
For
on that, right? Sorry, Leon. Just because Craig was at the match, right? I listened to it on the radio, and then obviously caught the highlights, and I felt like what I was seeing on Twitter versus what the people on the radio were saying versus the highlights were 3 completely different things. So they were very, very critical, and probably rightly so, of the vast majority of our team, but in particular Ellie Yuan as well. But then I saw a mixture of people online saying that he was probably one of our only brightest sparks.
see, to be honest, in that first half, Elian was the least of our problems.
yeah, agreed.
Warren O'Hora for their, and I can we'll talk on the goals just separately in a wee minute, but I mean, we are absolutely we're just a shambles. It's like we've got a back four, a midfield none, and a front four. Like the midfield is completely non-existent, and it is clear to see. And when you look at the second goal, when Warren O'Hora gets caught on the ball and there's nobody to pass it to in the middle of the park, first goal is a fucking shite goal to give away as well. And it just seems, Mark, that it's time and time again these weeks. We're coming on the podcast and talking about shipping cheap goals, but do you see it ever ending? I don't know if we'll ever keep a clean sheet again.
I think it just starts from the goalkeeper and then works its way up the park. I think when you're playing in a back four and you don't trust your goalkeeper, sorry, and you don't trust each other, it just creates a nervousness for the whole game. And then as soon as we've spoke about it before, how maybe when Lewis Miller and Ekpeteta are on it, you feel really nervous. But now actually, I kind of feel nervous about Warren O'Hora, not so much when he's on the ball, but his positioning and just general play. It's really difficult. And again, you talk about nervousness and not trusting each other. Then you look further up the park and you've got Quan and Triantis, who their first touches or their second touch, sorry, is a tackle 9 times out of 10. So you feel nervous about passing the ball to them, and it radiates throughout the whole team. And I think that's what you see with Warren O'Hora's mistake.
Yeah, Shaun, just kind of touching on what Mark said there, the fact that the whole team is sort of lacking trust, is it kind of, for you, is it like vindicative of where we are at the moment in the league as well as mentally, or is what's going on for you?
Yeah, I think a lot of it now is more mental more than anything else. We've come on these episodes this season, and at times we've said we've played okay in spells, and we've maybe been a wee bit unlucky with decisions. But the league table ultimately doesn't lie, and regardless of whether we play okay for 80 minutes or then go and concede however many goals, 9, 10 goals, and ship 14 points in the last 10, 50 minutes of matches, it's a 90-minute match plus, so we deserve where we are. We spoke about it the other week, actually, that some of the players individually will be hurting, but whether they're pulling other people up or whether they're digging other people out is another conversation. You can see in some of our post-match interviews, especially with like Marvin in recent weeks, that he's clearly really, really frustrated at what he's playing with at the moment and not necessarily his game individually. But again,
Nicky Cadden as well after the game.
Yeah,
Aye, exactly. You can tell.
Just to touch on Nicky Cadden actually before, because I've got a clip from David Gray to play in just a second, but just like completely off topic there. I know that you said Nicky Cadden's hurting. I just wanted to raise with you. I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter, the Edinburgh Live podcast, the Edinburgh Live website. Have you seen it, Shaun? I think they deleted the tweet now, but they led with an article that obviously what they meant is that Nicky Cadden goes home and is frustrated, and his wife like his wife faces the brunt of his frustration.
Oh no!
But they've worded it in a way that it looks like he goes home and batters his wife.
Of course they did, because that's what news and media does. They're scumbags.
It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. And I don't know. I think they've taken it down now. The tweet. I don't know if they've taken the article
That's
down.
absolutely outrageous.
But I saw JD on Twitter was talking about it, and he was just kind of saying, "What like, who's wrote that and thought, aye, that's sound. I'll post that."
No, but they do it on purpose. They do it on purpose to
I
get,
know they do.
get
I know they
clicks
do.
and fucking. It's
They're obviously for clickbait, but
yeah, they're just the worst.
they are the worst. But listen, let's hear.
See, just before you play that, Liam, right? I just wanted to touch on something that Marc and Shaun have both said about nervousness, right? That first half, I don't ever think I've seen a Hibs team bereft of such confidence. And in situations like that, Marc, I think you said it. Who's going in there, and are they pulling them up or are they pushing them down?
Shaun.
About maybe 5-10 minutes into the first half, I just sat and I watched Joe Newell, right? I didn't care about anything else that happened. I just sat and watched Newell. The amount of times that the centre halves or the left or Beta have got the ball, and he deliberately manoeuvres himself into an area where he cannot receive a pass is frightening. I always thought it was a bit of a running joke, like, oh, Newell, where was Newell today? He never done anything. So I decided to sit and watch him. And he actually goes into areas where he can't get the ball.
Do you think that's a subconscious thing?
No,
Or
I think
do you
it's
think
I think it's the mark of that's supposed to be your captain. Because on the flip side, in the second half, when he's had a kick up the arse for great at half time, he starts doing his mad charging about routine.
Yep.
Where he tries to go and close the ball down, or he tries to go and win the ball back, and he tries to do this. But in the first half, I honestly couldn't believe what I was watching when I seen him do it.
Well, this is what David Gray had to say about the first half.
Listen, firstly, as I've already said, I need to apologise to the fans for the first half performance. I've not really had to do that this season. There's been moments, obviously, we've been massively let ourselves down, but today that first half performance wasn't good enough. And that was obviously the message at half time. Second half, I thought we had a little bit more of a go and went towards the end, but at the same time the damage was done in the first half when we really needed a big performance today. We talked a lot about last week and deserving results. We absolutely deserved absolutely nothing for our first half performance today, that's for sure.
The thing that kind of stuck out with me there, Marc, is that he's talking about big performances were needed. And big performances have been needed for the last 5 or 6 games where we've been in this sort of favourable run since was it Ibrox, and we've kind of had this run of games where you would have liked to have thought that we would have came away with a lot more points than we have. The frustration for me is us being as timid as we were and as lacklustre and as devoid of any sort of desire, especially in that first half, in a game that we so desperately needed to win.
Do you know what we are? Is vanilla. That's what we are, from the top to the bottom of this football club. We're vanilla, from the owner to the manager to the captain to pretty much all the players. There's not one, and I know we hate to talk about sort of character and all that, right? But do you know what kind of frustrates me about David Gray sometimes? See, in a moment like this, see your top managers, they come out and they take the attention away for the players, right? And see, for example, the dodgy penalty at the end against Dundee United, and he comes out and he does his usual post-match press thing, which is like, oh yeah, we've done that. Basically just gives a summary of the entire game. Mm-hmm. See, what I wanted to see there was coming out and go and have a go at the referee. I know it might not be a bad decision, but go and have a go at the referee, go and take the attention off the players, go and get angry, get fucking frustrated in the press conference or whatever. Joe Newell, get angry, just show me something. Instead, it's just to come out and it's the same and it's dreary and it's boring and it's dull. And we're just too nice everywhere. We're just far too nice. There's not a single bit of character anywhere. And again, it resonates throughout the entire club, and that connection between the player and the fans is just not there at the moment. You see, there's players having a go at fans, there's fans having a go at players, but it's just it's not a nice place to be around right now. And yeah. I just want to see something from somebody. Do you know what I mean? Anything.
Yeah.
vanilla.
Shaun, he's talking about there. He seems to me like David Gray always comes out and says it's on the players. It's on the players. I've never heard a post match from David Gray where he's taken any accountability whatsoever. So where does the blame lie?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Marc said. Former Hibs manager, new interim manager David Gray speaks exactly like that in all his press conferences. And that's probably a lack of experience from a management side of things more than anything else. David, I was going to say David McInnes. Derek McInnes at the weekend's a prime example. His post match as well. You think Neil Lennon done it a lot for Hibs as well. So Mark's absolutely spot on with what he's saying there. It is maybe something that we do need a wee bit more of. But we've been saying that pretty much my whole life. Do you know what I mean? So this situation that we're in is nothing new to me in regards to some of the attitude of some of our leaders at the club. Very rarely do we go through a spell where we've got people that will speak out. There was a prime example at Ibrox where Jack Ross could have came out and defended Ryan Poitras and didn't as well. Like, it doesn't matter who we have in charge. We very rarely have people that will speak out for the right reasons and call things out. Unfortunately, Paul McGinn done it. Regardless of what you think of Paul McGinn as a player, but he done it, and that was the right thing to do at that point.
I'm more talking about the sort of the throwing of the players under the bus, where I don't think the blame at this moment in time lies entirely with the players. I think David Gray's got to take some accountability for whatever it is he's doing. His substitution tombola, his his lineup. It looks like he's just picking the jockey with the nicest jacket. With his lineups half the time. Craig, I'm just going to play this clip quickly.
Of course it will, because he's the manager, and that's why.
But he's putting the blame on the players' shoulders.
I know, I know, but that's probably where the inexperience from a post-match perspective will come into play. He might think that, if we'd maybe got a couple of runs at the start of the season, like a couple of wins at the start of the season, a good couple of running fixtures, he probably wouldn't be throwing the players, not individually under the bus, but without naming names, he'd been throwing them under the bus. Lewis Miller the other week as well, and again players this week. So maybe he's just sick of it, and
yeah,
maybe
but Craig, I've got this clip.
He's tried different things, and that's why he's going down this route. And ultimately, it's not at the minute working out for him.
Yeah, and for the third time, Craig, I've got this clip, and I'll play it, and I'll get your thoughts on what he says just after.
Is it a point now where the players have to look at themselves?
I think it's been a point, not just now, I think for a number of weeks, 100%. It's letting us down. But at the same time, in the first half, the one we get punished for is an individual error, but there was numerous in the first half, and bad situations, turning over the ball in poor situations, poor decision making at times, and a real lack of, whether it be confidence, belief. But the first half performance was way off what we've been offering up of late, and that's the thing that's frustrated me the most.
I have to say, sorry Craig, but I have to say I hate that question. I really hate that question that he's asked.
It is. I think that's like Adam offering David Gray to throw the players under the bus as well.
It's a horrible question. I've not actually watched that, but I hate that question. Sorry Craig, on you go.
He looks tired. Like, he actually, in the face, he looks, even when he's answering that, he says that he doesn't have to, this, what he said on Saturday kind of leads into the absolute shanner of a statement we got yesterday, and that they're just saying words for the sake of saying words. Like, he's saying, the players have been needing to do it for a number of weeks now. But he's not changed anything.
Yeah.
He's basically been one in, one out, depending on who's fit. It's not a case of, the defence has been shocking, right, let's put Iredale in, see how he does, left-footed centre-half. No. It's been, right, Miller had a shite game, so Cadden will come back in. Cadden's been injured, so Miller will come back in. Like, it's just...
This is where I'm saying that Gray needs to start taking
accountability. I do think it's quite apt when he took the job. And remember, we spoke about it when he took the job, when he said he hates the word philosophy, and it's almost like because he doesn't know what one looks like.
Mhm.
Like you've said as well, Liam. Like there's absolutely zero. So it's all fine and well blaming the players, right? So like I said, he can't legislate for somebody like Joe Newell going into areas where he can't receive the ball, but he's setting the team up to arse about with it between the back four, for it to go back to the goalie, for the goalie to then launch it to nobody. I mean, he's launched on Saturday there, but we're playing with a three Hoylett, Boyle, and Ewan, and we're playing long balls for the goalie.
Mhm.
That
We have
clearly,
been for weeks though.
but that's what I mean. That comes for the manager.
Of course.
So is this where it then comes into an experience that he doesn't know where to change it, how to change it? He's been at Hibs when he knows what works. He's played in teams that have played it three at the back, and when it's no worked, they went to a diamond. When the diamond doesn't work, that season under Jack Ross where we played the 4-4-2, but it was almost like a hybrid 4-3-3 to let Boyle kind of push into the front three a bit more. So it's not as if he's never been involved in football and he's a complete rookie, but he's playing this weird 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 that has nothing in it.
There's no balance in the midfield, and
there's none.
The staggering thing for me is that there's no balance, but we've got about 150 centre midfielders who have got varying qualities. They're very varying in ability as well. But what's like Chuck Levitt and Chuck Mariah Welsh and Chuck Amoson? What's going on?
This is where I think Gray's inexperience is coming into it, and the three subs he made at half time on Sunday, maybe not particularly Cadden because he's just signed. But this has showed that the three subs at half time showed that he's starting to toil now, given that Rocky's not kicked the ball since Celtic in the Cup, I believe, and Levitt's not kicked the ball all season either, and he's bringing them on at half time.
Yep.
And he's probably not even brought Rocky on to say, right, Rocky, go and show me what you're done. He's probably showed a bit of decency and actually taken O'Hora out the firing line.
Yeah.
But with Levitt, and then Levitt's the one that comes on, and Levitt gets on the ball, and he's actually trying to make things happen.
So it kind of begs the question: is he can't be doing that in training? So what is David Gray seeing from Quan and Triantis and Newell that Levitt isn't offering up? I don't get.
But it's not even that. It's Mariah Welsh comes on against Hearts, now he's not been seen for weeks. Doyle Hayes also comes on against Hearts, isn't seen for weeks, but gets back on the bench on Saturday. Rudy's probably one of the bright spots for the start of the season. He's now at the squad. Campbell was talked up at the start of the season as being one of the most important players, not seen for weeks. It's Amos. Amos comes with such a great pedigree, and he's bombed out. Triantis, the one that bugs me about Triantis as well is that when Gray got the interim job, he dropped him and barely played him.
Yeah.
Yet we're led to believe he was at the top of the list for one of the players that he wanted to bring back.
It's very, very confusing. And what we'll do now is we'll move on to the listener questions from the game, and then we'll get into the meat and drink of the statement and have a good old chin wagging, a bitch session about
that. See, just before we go on, just on what Craig said, that for me is, and it has been for years, is our biggest problem is midfield, right? And it's like we've gone from one extreme to the other, because last season we were sort of crying out for a holding midfielder, somebody to sit in front of the defence and sort of work hard and sort of just be that sitting midfielder. Now this season we've got Quan and Triantis who are sort of sitting in that position as holding midfielder, but it makes it so difficult to transition from back to front when you've got two players in midfield that aren't really great on the ball. Triantis is alright, but again, the second touch is generally a tackle, give the ball away a lot. On the ball, I'm not particularly confident with the two of them. So it's like, what else do we do? Because the only other player you've got in there is Newell, who goes hiding for most of the game. So I think you said it earlier, generally it is a 4-0-4 that we play, because there's no midfield, and then it just means that the goalie has to punt it forward to the front line. We need to, if he persists with playing two holding midfielders at home against, I say, quote-unquote, lower opposition in the Premier League, then we're struggling. Like, in these games, we should be going for it and really attacking, rather than sitting with sort of 6 or 7 players on the park that can't really play football.
And see, before we move on, Liam, can we just make it a vow that we're never speaking about that goalie on here ever again? Because I honestly think I will genuinely lose my fucking mind.
the goalie for the second goal. I mean, I think Warren O'Hora has probably got more to answer for than the goalie, but the goalie doesn't cover his own glory, that's for sure. But see, literally just before we move
sorry,
on,
Liam, I'd actually argue that Craig, the goalie's actually more at fault because mistakes like that as a defender can happen. The goalie has so much time, knows where the player's coming from, and still goes down like a sack of tatties to one side and just leaves a leg hanging. So for
You
me,
get beatings in your post as well.
aye, that's what I'm saying. Although O'Hora's caused the situation, the goalkeeper can prevent it, but does absolutely nothing to do so. But
Yeah.
aye, I'll let you move on to listener questions.
yeah. So literally just before we get on to listener questions, there's been an article posted by the Hibs Observer literally just now. Hibs are hopeful of appointing Garvin Stewart as their new head of recruitment and a significant change to the club's player ID department. So that is the fella who is currently with the Black Knights group at Bournemouth. And what is he doing right now? He joined Bournemouth in 2012 as head of performance analysis, and before working his way up and taking on recruitment analysis role in February 2023. So it looks as if we're trying to get this guy in and hopefully kind of reshape the recruitment model that we've got. But let's park that just now and jump on to listener questions.
Now it's time to answer the Hibs Ramble listener questions.
Cool. First off, John McIntosh, fuck the board, dinner.
Fish and chips.
Lovely.
Fish and chops.
And beans.
Do you have
beans as
mushy
well.
peas, tartar sauce?
Beans.
Oh, grow up. Shaun?
Creamy pork mashed pie with green beans.
It just seems a bit sexual, doesn't it? Creamy pork mashed pie. What did you have, Mark?
I had some homemade risotto, tomato and chorizo risotto with sweet potato chips.
Wow. That actually sounds really nice.
It was
Chorizo
lovely.
is unbelievable, eh? Chorizo
The
is like
risotto
my
was
favourite
actually,
thing.
I made loads of it. Made loads of risotto last night, but some left over for the day.
Lovely stuff. See, I thought I was going to have a takeaway tonight. I don't know if I'm going to bother by the time we get done this. I'll just need to wait and see. I think I'm probably going to
That Doner calzone's sitting waiting for you. What are you talking about?
No, I'll update you and let you know what takeaway I end up getting. Billy is asking, and it's only directed to you, Shaun, but I would like to get everyone else's takes on it as well. What is Shaun's favourite non-Hibs football top?
That is a superb question.
Before we get your answer, Shaun, because you'll probably need to think about it, Craig and Marc will probably have answers that are pretty quick.
What, any specific team or
Any football
era
shirt,
or what?
but it can't be Hibs.
I don't think you can beat a classic Boca Juniors top.
For me, it's the Barcelona kit. I think it was maybe like 2006 or 7. The one that Ronaldinho wore. It's like that sort of gold colour with the wee pinstripes.
Oh, I had that.
It's tidy. Just reminds me of Ronaldinho. Like the full, I think it was all gold, like full gold, like a pale sort of gold.
I like that. I
Was
like
it the
that
muddy
one. I like
pitch at
the
Stamford Bridge?
Aye.
Yeah, that's the one. I like the one, the Real Madrid one, that was in goal 2. You know, the it was like full white with the collar and the black stripes on the sleeves with Bank Siemens as the sponsor.
A Real Madrid kit being full white. Fucking hell. Who'd have thought?
Honestly. Shaun, please save us.
Can I only say one?
You're only allowed to say one. He says, what's Shaun's favourite what is Shaun's favourite non-Hibs football top? And that's singular, so you only get one.
There's one of the Dortmund ones for the 90s.
I thought it was going to be some fucking like Guadalajara in the Mexican league or something.
It's like the luminous neon.
The one they won the European Cup in?
Nah.
Have you got it?
It's got a white collar. I've not got it. I've never been able to get my hands on it. It's like a white collar, white buttoned collar. It's got a nice funky design on it as well. I'll try and find it. I was going to say the Scotland Leisure t-shirts. You know, I don't even know what you would call them as for the early 90s, but they're technically not football shirts.
Yeah, I don't think I would have accepted that as a.
If you'd have asked this 8 months ago during Toe Tapper Gate, I might have had a different answer.
The Rangers away one this season's quite good, eh? No,
the anniversary one with the nice badge in that,
right? Right, next up, while Shaun finds this photo, is Hibs US. And they ask, who caretakers from the caretaker? Does Gray step in while they find a replacement for Gray? And will Gray have a role in the next manager's, probably Gray, coaching staff? What's this one? Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I love that Nike badge as well. The kind of retro
probably
Nike
because I've never been able to get my hands on it as well. That's probably what makes it more desirable.
Shaun, you'll need to put a picture of that up on the Twitter so that the listeners of the audio-only version will be able to know what you're talking about. Yeah, so that Grayception.
Well, if what we're led to believe is true, that's already the case.
I know.
So
what Gray is the interim manager?
Aye, Gray's. I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about it when we get to the statement or no, but
we'll talk about it when we get to the statement. Because Nigel's asking a spineless performance and probably the final nail in the coffin for Gray, which now we know isn't the case. The club is in free fall. Season after season, we make the same poor decisions and have learnt nothing. You can ask for change, but all we'll do is press repeat and go again. Criminal. And I think he's got a massive point there.
Yep.
As long as the things stay the same above the manager's head, nothing below the manager is going to change. IMO. Then Chris asks, is the job too big for David Gray? I think what we've covered, certainly what Craig said so far in this episode, we probably seem to think so.
I actually don't think it is. I just think he's been let down by not only the managers that have came before him, but all the recruitment that's came before him. I think if he came into the club when the club were in a good place, he could have just continued the trajectory that we could have been on, and he could have just kind of piggybacked on previous success. But I think because we're in such a shit at the minute, it's very, very tough, regardless of who it is, to get us out of that.
Agreed. I think he's potentially the right man, just at the wrong time. I think that,
like Maloney,
any manager is going to really struggle to come in and turn this around. That's how I'm feeling at the moment. I think we're in a sort of a bit of a crisis at the moment, to be honest, just because the confidence is so unbelievably low. Like I said, that player-fan connection, which you think of the best times at Hibs and you always think of that real connection that the players had with the fans and vice versa, and it's total opposite at the moment. Dundee United away, you've seen Martin Boyle and a fan had a go at each other. I think at the weekend there, I think was it Jake Doyle-Hayes was having a go at somebody, and then Yuan at the end of the game as well, which is obviously, it's not nice to see from both ends, because you didn't like to see that sort of abuse for the stands, but then also you didn't like to see the players retaliating and giving it back. So I do feel for David Gray. I must say he's obviously a Hibs legend and all that, but it's just a really, really difficult time for anyone to be the manager right now.
I think Craig has said it on numerous times, and it's kind of encapsulated the feelings of a lot of Hibs supporters that I've seen anyway, that I think no matter what happens to Gray as manager at Hibs, it's never going to tarnish his legacy as a player. He's always going to have scored that goal, and whatever happens this season or for the remainder of the time that David Gray's in charge, I don't think anything is going to take away from the fact that he's a legend of the club.
It's very
and he's
easy
always
to
going to be
Gray the player and Gray the manager. There's
massive differences,
and
of course
it's not as if David Gray's doing this deliberately. But it'd
be funny if he was.
The thing is though, right, and I was thinking about this earlier on, just in terms of what Marc said earlier on about talking about characters, right? It's no surprise that the only semi-decent manager we've actually had in these last few years has been, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, Lee Johnson. Because when you look at the characters that Maloney, very quiet, kind of very seems in himself, Montgomery, almost the same, David Gray, folk spoke about David Gray when he was a player. And while he commanded respect, he was never a shouter, a baller or whatever. Kenny was very quiet, very reserved, kept himself to himself. Whereas Johnson was a fucking slaver. And I don't think whatever's changed above the managers has changed by the time that Gray's got the job. And Johnson's probably been the only one that's actually maybe bit back at the stuff that's been coming down his way.
Well, I mean, Johnson, you look at Johnson in the last, well, what is it? Gray, Montgomery, Johnson, Maloney. Since the last manager that had any sort of experience was Jack Ross.
Yeah.
Maloney had never been in a managerial job before. Nick Montgomery had been in a job 2 seasons. Lee Johnson had 500 odd games under his belt by the time he left Hibs. And David Gray had no managerial experience apart from carrying the bag of balls up to Pittodrie a couple of times. You know what I mean? So, no, I think you're probably right. And what we'll move on to now is the statement, and what I'm just going to read it out in its entirety, and then kind of get your immediate thoughts on it, on
Trust
what
the
you
process.
thought.
That's pretty much what it is again.
Yeah, it is. But I wonder if we can maybe read between the lines, possibly. But I want to get your initial reactions of what you thought when you first read it yesterday. So it says, "We are disappointed with the poor start to the current season, like all Hibernian FC supporters. Following the weekend result, we have held discussions as a group addressing how we move forward. We continue to work tirelessly in our quest to improve our performance and achieve the results we need on the pitch. Through this challenging time, we support our head coach David Gray and his management team. All departments are under pressure to deliver. We recognise that this is a hard time for our supporters and we know we can do better. Together with Black Knight Football, we are working hard to make that happen."
Have they edited that? Because I swear David Gray's name wasn't in there initially.
This was the website.
No, it was, because they said they said that they give him and his coaching staff their full support.
So his name's always been on it. I swear when
Yeah.
I first read it wasn't there. Sorry. Aye.
Mandela effect. Mark, what was your initial thoughts when you read that yesterday?
I think my initial thought was good. I think I was kind of like, I'm glad they've come out and back David Gray, because I've always been an advocate of giving managers time and stuff like that, for better or for worse, like backing them. And the other side of me is thinking that I just don't trust whoever's writing it. I don't trust the mouth that's coming from, because we've heard it time and time again in the past where, we're giving this manager our back in. This is you've got a big future, blah, 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 blah. And they end up just getting sacked anyway. We've seen, Lee Johnson was sacked after a poor spell in the league. Jack Ross was sacked after a poor spell in the league. So I just don't trust them, basically. And I think, obviously, there's been some rumours this week with Black Knight and maybe Ben Kensel leaving, Ian Gordon selling the club, David Gray moving on, new staff, like all this. So I just I'm not really seeing anything on the back of it, to be honest. It's just words.
Yeah. Shaun, it's kind of unfair to add fuel to the fire in terms of the rumours that Mark has spoken about there, but I'm going to ask you to add fuel to the fire.
Absolutely, will happily.
Obviously, we've all seen the rumours that David Gray had one foot out the door, etc., etc. Malky Mackay stepping in, whatever. Do you that statement that's come out? Do you think that that's been rushed together after a crisis meeting has gone wrong and they just don't know what's happening? Because I've heard and read a lot of different things from a lot of different sources that David Gray was meant to go.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll happily add fuel to the fire, but before that meeting, or the supposed meeting that took place, I had an inkling that something was going to change, whether it be David Gray himself or above. Again, believe what you will, or it depends on your source and all that nonsense, but I was of the understanding that Ben Kensel would be leaving in the near future, a very near future, in fact, which then led me to think that potentially the Black Knights would slowly be leaving their imprint on the club a little bit more, i.e. finding a replacement for him or bringing someone in to replace him, and until they'd found that, Ben then wouldn't step away. The statement for me, I'm pretty much although obviously Mark thinks it was good, but then doesn't kind of believe it to an extent. I'm like of the opposite side. I just thought it was a waste of time, to be honest, and it reminded me of the statement at the end of last season that it's put out to try and calm supporters, and just pretty much appease them more than anything else. Like, it seems like every single week the relationship between the club and the supporters are getting further and further away, not necessarily by the actions of David Gray himself, but by either the players or those above him. But yeah, if you're to believe what you've heard, David Gray was apparently sacked. Malky Mackay, which he had on record to all four of us categorically said that he will never manage Hibs. He was supposed to be sworn in as the interim manager. Whether it be a sponsor or whether it be board members or whether it be people in the Black Knight group, they've said no to that, and rightly so, because he should be nowhere near our club in the first place, never mind the manager. And then they've then had to basically retract whatever decision that they were going to make on David Gray and to put him in interim charge. If you want to believe that, believe it. If you don't, don't. The way I read that statement was, we're going to find, as in we, the Black Knight group, are going to find a new manager for this club, and David Gray is going to be in charge. It felt to me a win or bust, which ultimately is a lose-lose situation for David Gray, because he's not going to win every single match between now and the end of the season. If he wins a couple of matches, great, but ultimately when the Black Knight group find a replacement for him, he's going to be gone regardless of what form he has left in the weeks prior to that. So, yeah, I don't really read too much into the statement, and I felt like it was a waste of time, but as a club, I understand why they've put it out, but it said a whole load of nothing.
Yeah, just following on from that, Craig, Shaun was talking about Ben Kensell and Malky Mackay there. What do you think this statement kind of spells for their future? Not just Ben Kensell and Malky Mackay, but David Gray as well. Do you agree with Shaun that he's kind of in waiting until the Black Knights find someone that they want? Do they even have that power?
I mean, probably not, but I think they've probably reached a point now where, I mean, Bill Foley said it in July that the club weren't listening, and folk went mental at him on Twitter for it. Oh, you're just a minority shareholder. You're this, you're that. You can shut up, do this. And I mean, for one, that statement.
Shut up, sign the centre half.
For not one of those, not Malcolm McPherson, the supposed non-executive chairman, whatever you want to call him, to put his name to that as a joke to start with. Ian Gordon hiding away as well, joke. Not one of them have got the balls to put their name to that statement. I agree with Shaun, it said a whole lot of nothing. In terms of the power that Black Knights have, it could be like Ineos have done it at Man United. They're a minority shareholder, but they now effectively run the footballing side, and the Glazers look after everything else, as far as I'm led to believe. But now it's, I mean, you said, and there was a thing in as well, the Hibs Observer last night, that obviously Hibs are now trying to drip feed information to, because they don't want to do it through the news. And it said that, is it Ryan Castle, Carswell, I don't know his full name, but basically the two Black Knight representatives on the board, him and Bill Foley, unanimously agreed that David Gray stays in post. Yet back in the summer when he was appointed, they didn't want him in the first place. And now we're led to believe that after a run that we're on, they said that he could stay.
So do you think that is what Shaun's touched on, because they are going to try and identify?
With Malky and Ben, it's now, so we've now got, if again rumours are to be believed, Calvin Charlton, who I think's been head of recruitment, is away, but we've got a head of recruitment which was / is him.
I don't think he was head of recruitment.
Yeah, on his Twitter he's got head of technical recruitment at Hibs.
Some technical role.
I thought it was more technical analysis.
No, recruitment. So you've
got Malcolm Mackay?
No,
Calvin
Charlton.
Never even heard of him.
There was him. You've then got one person who I think has received absolutely no attention whatsoever is David Marshall. Technical performance manager, whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean, or technical performance director. So there's another de facto head of a department. Malky Mackay, the sporting director, head of a department. Now we're getting a head of recruitment. How many fucking heads do we need?
Nah.
And in terms of the more I was one of the naive ones in the summer that thought, you know what, give him a chance. But now the longer it goes, the more I'm thinking, why the fuck have we got a failed Ross County manager heading up our entire sporting, basically the whole footballing side of the club? Why have we got that headed up? Ben Kensel's earning $1,000 a day as the CEO of Hibs.
It's funny
Not
you say
even
that.
Hearts or Aberdeen
I actually looked at that the day. After tax, it's £665. Before tax, it's £1,200 a day he gets.
So
I wouldn't mind that,
he's on, when you compare it to CEOs in the league apparently, so you're looking at Aberdeen and Hearts comparing salary-wise, he's miles ahead of them, their respective CEOs, and I don't think he's actually that far off what Rangers CEO was making.
Yeah.
But it all feeds up to Ian Gordon.
I think it's a very difficult situation. What you're saying there, Craig, with how many heads of departments do we need? I wonder, with this article that we've just seen by the Hibs Observer of this guy from Bournemouth coming in to head up the recruitment, I wonder if we're going to see a kind of wash of a lot of these heads of departments and see the Black Knights maybe take a step forward in the recruitment process in terms of appointing staff at the club. I feel, and this might be rightly or wrongly, I feel, and I'll get your opinions on this, that a lot of our appointments for backroom staff over the last decade or so, maybe 15 years, has been given jobs to the boys. A lot of former players, a lot of former coaches that maybe didn't have the experience, maybe they do, but I feel like a lot of it is giving jobs to the boys. What were we going to say, Mark?
I think that Ian Gordon has been getting the piss ripped out of him for the last 3 years since Ron passed away. I think, look, it's horrible because he didn't ask to be put in this position, and he wasn't ready probably, and I think he's probably the youngest owner probably in Britain. I don't know, there might be somebody younger, but he didn't ask for it. But honestly, I do think that he's getting the piss ripped out of him. I think, like Ben Kensel's wage, Ben's probably kind of persuading him to give him that fucking wage. I think all these roles, all these made up fantasy roles that are getting put in, who's actually whispering in the ear and Gordon saying, "Oh yeah, we need a performance director and we need this person and that person." Honestly, I just think he doesn't know what he's doing, so he's trying to put as many people around him as possible to guide him in the right direction. And it's that expression, too many cooks. But he's trying to get the right people around him to help lead him. I think there's only one person to look at, and it's Black Knight. So whether he's finally realised that actually maybe I do need to lean on them a lot more than what I have been, and this is the changes that you're starting to see, I don't know. But I definitely think that, look, I don't have a problem with Ian Gordon being the owner, but if he wants to be a successful owner, he needs to take a complete step back and lean on somebody that's experienced, that's savvy, like whether it's Bill Foley or somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the moment, I think he's genuinely getting the piss taken out of him by everyone, all these yes men around him.
He needs to do a Tom Farmer kind of vibe, which is what Marc's saying, and I think for far too long, it touches on the point that you were saying about like what level of control or right of say do the Black Knight group have. They're probably looking at the club and thinking, well, how many fucking appointments are you going to get wrong? Whether it be a manager, 7 or however many managers that they've appointed, 5 or 6 or whatever it is now, they can't all be terrible appointments. I know it's easy to say that, but on the face of it, looking at recent results over recent years, they have been. So they can't be trusted again to make another appointment. So Mark's right in what he's saying. Like, Ian needs to start surrounding himself with better quality people in regards to the role that they're meant to be doing, and not just people that he likes to have around. Because ultimately, whether they're exploiting him or not, or exploiting the club, since the Gordons have came in, even prior to Ron's passing, not a lot from a footballing perspective has went right with our club. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying we were fed a dream and that we're going to get into the Champions League and we're going to challenge for cups in Europe every year. That wasn't what my expectation was when they moved in. But
nothing
in so much wrong. So he needs to surround himself with the right people. And the Black Knights will be looking at historically the appointments they've made and be like, you don't have a leg to stand on. You've made one bad appointment after another. Let us come in. We can't get any worse.
Yeah. I actually spoke
Um,
about this on the Big Scottish Football podcast on Monday with Stephen Mill and Ewan Cameron, and they were asking me about the Black Knights and all the appointments and stuff, and I said, well, nothing is going to change until the people who are appointing these managers, who are not getting a tune out of these players who have been here for 5 or 6 different cycles, some of them, nothing's going to change until the people who are appointing the managers change, because they are getting it wrong, and then they're sacking. It's sack higher, till we get it right, which you can say is the right way to do it, the wrong way to do it. I think someone said, I don't know who it was, but someone went, "Oh, you can't keep sacking managers," but then the rebuttal was, "But you can't keep hiring shit ones." So if it's not the right person for the job, what are you going to do? Let them stay in the job? I don't really know where I'm going
Aberdeen
here
are
with
in the
this.
right position if you
I
keep
mean,
sacking managers. Got to
there's
get one right
there's two
eventually.
things.
This is it. This is, and they're in a great position because there's then no one holding name to account, because Ian Gordon's not going to do that. But hopefully now, with Black Knights wanting to bring in some of their own people to maybe aid in the process of getting new people in the door, there's going to be some accountability held somewhere at some level of seniority, and
Well,
you just we kind of have to put our 100% trust that the Black Knights are going to get this right for us, Craig.
there's two things for me with this, right? One, the person that's been spoken about in terms of Ian Gordon is this power hungry, like telling people what to do, right? I think the four of us can agree the person that we've heard about versus the person that we've seen in the flesh is completely different.
Mhm.
Completely different, almost to the point where what Marc's saying, whenever Ben or Malky were speaking and Ian tried to sort of add a point, it was almost as if they were saying to him, fucking Ian, shut up, just shut up now. And another thing as well is that, so when you actually go through the ownership list, and Americans seem to set up companies to then own a company, to then own another company, to then own the asset. When you follow that trail, Ian's nowhere to be seen. It's actually Kit that owns everything. So it's actually her that's putting the trust in probably Ian to look after the family's interests on her behalf, but it's not actually his to make a decision on. And in terms of the Black Knight stuff and all the rest of it, right, there's no coincidence that the last time Hibs financially were in an absolute shit show, Malcolm McPherson was leading it. Not only was he leading it, he was the root cause of Frank Sozzi not coming back to Easter Road for over 20 years because of the way he was treated. And like Liam says, you can't keep sacking managers, but you can't keep hiring shite ones. But there's no way that Heckenbottom, Ross, Maloney, Johnson, Gray, Montgomery are all shite.
No, this is the thing.
There's no way, and that's over. The Gordons took over in 2019. We're now into this. I think, well, my maths is shite, but probably this is their sixth. By the end of this season, it'll be their sixth full season. In charge
How many
of the club.
managers have they went through?
Exactly, and it started with Heckenbottom when he took over, and I just don't. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I agree with Marc that he's probably getting fed shite for somebody like Ben, and probably somebody like Malky. I mean, who's Ian Gordon to stand up to Malky Mackay with the experience in Scottish football that Malky's got over Ian sitting playing Football Manager and watching Y-Scout for hours on end. So there is an element of me that actually does feel sorry for him, given that one, like Marc says, he was never thrust into the job. Two, he probably never even wanted it. He was probably happy to just keep playing with Daddy's new toy. And three, he did lose his dad in amongst all of this.
Ian Gordon is the person that I feel the most sorry for.
But I also feel that he's the one most responsible, because he's the one who's been happy with the appointments of Ben, Malky, David Marshall. Mm-hmm. Like Marc says, and you said as well, Liam, it's just jobs for the boys. the sporting director happens to be really good pals with the chairman. The technical performance director happened to be, one, last season's goalie, and two, one of Marshall's closest signings for when he was at Cardiff.
Can we
The
also
head
just
coach.
point out the fact that they approached Malcolm Mackay as well out of absolutely nowhere and
Yeah.
basically offered him the job
Mhm.
and then put him through an 8-hour interview process. So it's not as if like we were actively hiring for this role. Somewhere along the line, someone has went to someone, this is what we need and this is who we're going to give it to. Let's sound them out. And they've
Taking
actively
a
went
piss.
to that.
And Malky was already photographed at games before the sporting director stuff.
months before.
But even you go through it, like Johnson, apparently his dad's best mate is Gary McDermott. Gary Johnson's best mate is Brian McDermott. David Gray gets the job. He then goes and gets Liam Craig, who's got a grand total of 8 months' experience as an assistant at Queen's Park, toiling at the bottom of the Championship. Craig Sampson, who by all accounts was chased out of Aberdeen. Like, Aberdeen fans were delighted when he left because he's not a goalie coach. And if I see that cunt whistling on the sidelines again at set pieces, my head will be fully off my shoulders. And Eddie May, who's not had a sustained period of adult football first team coaching for about at least 15 years.
And also said he never ever wants to be involved with men's first team football, and then all of a sudden he's involved.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Because that was when Heckingbottom got the sack, wasn't it? And then Eddie May was interim for a couple of games, and when we beat St Johnstone, we pumped them like 4-1 or something.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh, give Eddie May the job! What a guy!"
He's always said that though. He's always said that for the last 4 or 5 years. He never wants to be involved in men's first team football.
So this kind of brings me around to, before I want to touch on what the Ramblers were saying about this statement, bringing it full circle. And I'll go through. I'll ask all of you, but I'll come to you first, Mark. What is the best outcome? What's the best outcome that you can see from this situation?
So I've always kind of defended people like Ben Kensel and that, and my argument has always been, but he's, and maybe I've been naive probably. I've always said, he's not so much involved with the football stuff. It's more the sort of the business side of things. But actually, that's a load of shite. No, but that's a load of shite because he has been involved with all major decisions pretty much. And look, I think for me the outcome needs to be that Ian Gordon gets rid of Ben Kensel and gets rid of Malcolm Mackay and resets. I think unless Ian Gordon's going to make a huge change personally and be the boss and really take the club forward, I think he essentially needs to hand the keys over to Black Knight and say, look, I'm the owner of this football club. I've got interest because of my family, blah, 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 blah. I still want to be somewhat involved, but you are in charge of all of the football operations, from the CEO, the sporting director, right down to the manager and the players that come in. Give them, who obviously they've got multiple football clubs, they've got years and years of experience. I don't know the people, what their experience is, but I think he needs to just do a complete clear out of upstairs, get rid of all his mates, and just hand the keys over. That for me is the only way forward. Otherwise, all we're going to see is just a loop. We get rid of a manager, we bring a new one in, he has to put up all the shite. He goes through a good spell and a bad spell, we get rid of him, bring a new one in. Exactly
that's kind of what it's
happened.
been like since the Gordons took over, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just going to continue that way unless Ian Gordon really realises that actually these people around me maybe don't have my best interest or aren't the best for this football club, and maybe they've only got their personal interest, bringing in their pals and doing things that they want to do and whispering in Ian's ear, knowing that he's not got the experience to turn around and tell no, that's not the right thing. So I think it has to be a complete reset upstairs. If Ian Gordon wants to continue, that's what he needs to do. Otherwise, it'll need to be a case of him selling up.
Shaun, do you agree with Mark, or what do you think is the best outcome that can come from this situation?
Whatever outcome makes us steady, that's a very low bar for a club like Hibs. But whatever puts us in a steadier position, for me is the best possible outcome. Obviously, we have targets and objectives of being the third biggest club in the country and all this, that, and the other. But Mark's absolutely spot on with everything that he said. I can't really add too much more to that. It's just frustrating that I mentioned it. I mentioned it loads of times on this podcast. Emotionally, I'm a lot further detached from the club than probably
Yep.
at least you, Liam, and Mark. I don't know about Craig anymore. And that's because of the number of failed experiments and terrible seasons that we've had. I can't remember the last time I enjoyed a season supporting Hibs. I can't remember I enjoyed a run of games. Do you know what? Probably under Hecky was probably one of the, because you've got Jack Cross right under COVID and that, right? But you couldn't really enjoy that as much. But for me, I would probably have to stretch back to when Hecky was first in charge.
Mhm.
So whatever it takes to get us back to a steady position and working upwards on the right trajectory for me is what needs to happen. I've been very vocal about certain people at the club are in roles that they shouldn't be in, and Mark's hit the nail on the head with all of that as well.
Craig, the best outcome that you can see from this?
I just don't think I can really add much more to what Mark said. A complete gutting of everything from the Gordons down. Getting rid of McPherson for a start. Getting rid of this nepotism feeling about the club. Because unless the Gordons do something like that, regardless of who's in charge in the dugout, I think this has been the final straw for a lot of supporters. Everybody's been willing to give, they gave Ron time and they put up with the excuses in the beginning. They've even done it to a certain extent now with Ian, whereas this one seems to be like the very last one. And I mean, there's almost a
Massive
part.
sense of detachment, though, that can be helping that. Like, when the fans are feeling detached from the club, then the trust kind of dissipates. Whereas if the fans maybe had a little bit more of a connection to the club, you're more inclined to believe in them and trust in them and let them do what they're doing. But that connection is more or less completely is wearing very, very, very thin.
I feel that it's went past the point of, like with Shaun. Shaun probably got to a point where he was angry and he was pissed off. And now he's past that and he's now at the apathy stage.
Yep.
Where it's almost a bit like, oh well. And that's even more dangerous than fans, because when you're angry, that's when your emotions come out.
Mm-hmm.
If apathy sets in, you're almost like I was walking down the street. I'd left 85 minutes on Saturday, and I was walking down the street when I heard the roar. The first one, I was like, surely no. And then the second one, and it actually hit me when I checked, and it went back to 2-1. I didn't feel anything.
I was kind of like that as well because I left early too.
I didn't feel relieved. I didn't feel gutted. I didn't feel anything, and that's a dangerous place for supporters to be in. But
Because ultimately, Craig, that's when people don't show up. That's when people don't pay for the tickets and they don't go to the away games and they don't pay for the fancy hospitality. So I think that the last time that we really did have apathy setting in was probably 20. Well, you look at around that 2012, 11, 13 period when you look at the attendances, and if you look back at those games, even in derbies, the attendances were absolutely horrendous. And if the owners aren't careful, the Hibs fans have stuck by, especially the away support. And although the home support isn't the best it's ever been, it's still not bad. If it keeps going the way we're going, we are going to go back to that 2012, 2013, 5, 6, 7,000 people showing up on a Saturday home game, which is really, that is dangerous for the finances.
It almost feels like it's a really daft thing to say, right? And I'm going to preface this by saying this isn't what I want, but it almost feels like for them to realise how bad it's got is that we would need to go down.
I think you're completely right, though, Craig, and I think you just need to look at the reset that happened the last time we got relegated. I think we'd probably be pretty naive to sit here and say, "Oh, that's the last thing on their mind." They must be looking at that, the kind of the turn in the club's fortunes in terms of connection with the supporters and stuff after we went down and how much that changed. And obviously the cup win is a huge part of that. But I feel like even before we won the Scottish Cup, the connection with the fans and the club and the people who were making the decisions above the manager's head was all very good and it was flowing. Whereas, probably even since Leanne Dempster left and all that stuff kicked off with Neil Lennon at the end of his tenure, that's maybe where the relationship started to wane a little bit.
I mean, it is a daft thing to say. Like we shouldn't.
It's
need...
not though. I don't think
No,
it is.
It is because
it is daft.
We shouldn't need to go down for them to realise how bad it's got.
Of
but
course
they've
not.
Almost...
But it would give them the rocket up their arse.
Yeah, but it's almost like they've sleepwalked in. We've sleepwalked right into this because we had the COVID season where we finished third and it was great, and then the following season was like, seventh, but we got to the cup final. And then we had the season with Johnson where we almost got fourth, but then we started last season poorly. And then there's never, like Shaun says, there's never even been a run of games. Like if we were in Aberdeen's position now, right, roles reversed, and we're looking at Dundee away, Motherwell at home, and then Aberdeen at home, you're thinking, fucking hell, that's 7 points out of 9, by the way. We're motoring, trying to get a point away at Dundee, Motherwell and Aberdeen at home. Could be a gimme. Whereas now, I'm genuinely looking at the fixtures and thinking,
where's the win?
Not even where's the win, mate. Where are we getting a single point? I don't have any confidence in us going anywhere to get any points just now.
Exactly. And just before I come on to the Ramblers' questions or thoughts, on the statement, all this stuff that we're talking about is pretty long term. But Craig, you're touching on it there. The next 3 games: Dundee away, Dons at home, and Motherwell away.
Is Motherwell away?
Motherwell away, yeah.
Fucking hell, it's even worse.
And then we've got Celtic on the 7th of December, which is the game after Motherwell away. That's pretty short term. These are long term solutions that we're talking about, and long term things that need to happen to the club. Short term, David Gray's getting the backing of the people that are higher up at the club, but if we take no points from those 3 games, Shaun, which is highly likely the way that we're playing at the minute, and that's Dundee and Motherwell who, come the end of the season, will probably be fighting with us in that bottom 6 area. If we don't pick up any points against them, they start to pull away from us and we are stranded at the bottom of the table. What does that then mean for Gray? Has he only got 3 games left in him to salvage this?
No, you're definitely doing Motherwell a disservice on that. That's for sure, because they're flying.
Yeah, no, I know Motherwell have been playing well this season, but chances are they're going to plateau, aren't they?
It just goes back to what I was saying earlier on. I don't think it's a case of David Gray saving anything, because I don't think there's a job there for him to save. I think now it's a lose-lose situation where he will continue to be in charge of the club until the Black Knights have found someone. And if by some absolute miracle he goes and wins 3 out of 3 and then goes into the Celtic game, he could then lose the Celtic game and then they might just get rid of him then. Do you know what I mean? Craig's right though, looking at those fixtures, like right through to the end of the year and even the whole of January, you're sitting looking, where on earth are we getting any points? Which is it's just embarrassing more than anything else.
Especially given the teams that we've had in this favourable run. I don't want to keep calling it that because I feel like I am doing a disservice.
No, on paper it should have been. I said it 4 weeks ago. After the Rangers game, I said on this podcast, we're playing Motherwell, which in all fairness, we probably should have got something out of it. Dundee United, we were winning, chucked it away. Hearts arguably should have won, or according to you on the radio or the podcast, we should have been out of sight at half time.
We should have been.
Ross County, we probably didn't really deserve a win there, but again, not a defeat. Dundee United at home should have got something, as in a win. And then St Mirren at the weekend, well, that's probably the only one out of that run of fixtures where we
can say that we
probably deserve to get anything out of it. So you're not wrong to say that they were favourable fixtures, because they are. You're not playing Celtic, you're not playing Rangers, and you're not playing Aberdeen. But we still find ourselves in that position where if we had got a couple of points out of there, we wouldn't be sitting in the position that we're sitting in. But the harsh reality is that we are. And the harsh reality is that David Gray won't be in charge of Hibs for much longer.
We're in the territory as well of that split when Butcher was in charge, when it was like we only need 1 win. So when we didn't win the
Yeah,
first
no,
game of the
it's
split,
got absolutely, it screams at that, doesn't it?
when we didn't win the first game of the split, it was like, oh, we've got next week, and then all of a sudden, we're in a fucking playoff with Hamilton. There's no, and the thing is as well, right? That, I mean, it's quite simple. The more games that we play that we don't win, the more we then have to try and win towards the end of the season.
No bother Michael on.
No, but it's well now. I mean, how many games have we played? 12. So that's now a third of.
Well,
a
once we play
calendar.
Aberdeen, we played everybody.
No, but we've played a third of because there's 33 games up until the split, and we've played 12. So we've played more than a third, and we've got one win. So if we average that over the rest of the season,
We'll get 3
we're
wins.
going to end up with 3 or 4 wins and about 8 or 9 draws.
I know what you mean, though. Us performing so badly in that sort of first quarter or first third of the league, it just adds unnecessary pressure towards the end.
Because now we're going to have to
it
try and
does.
find a 2-3 win streak for some.
Aye, and especially because actually, this season a lot of teams are probably overperforming as to what you would think. Like Dundee United are doing well, Motherwell are doing well, St Mirren, they're not doing as well as they have been, but they're still sort of they're doing all right. There's not a team, even St Johnstone are picking up points. There's not a team like there has been historically over the last maybe 3-4 years
Nothing, boy.
that you can almost kind of rely on to be even shitter than you. This season, actually, even Ross County are picking up points here and there, so it gets to the point where actually you can't rely on teams to be even shitter than us because we are there. We are the shit ones of the league.
The only
So-
other team in the league at the minute that other clubs are looking and thinking, I fancy like a result against this mob is Hibs and Hearts, and we obviously go into those like a game against Hearts expecting to lose, whereas other teams will be looking at us and Hearts and thinking, I fancy us to get a result.
I said this on the podcast on Monday that the difference between us and Ross Counties and St Johnstone's this season is you look at Ross County, yeah, they might be pretty poor at the back. They've got Ronan Hale who's banging the goals in. St Johnstone might be pretty poor at the back. They've got Kimpioka and Sidibe who are banging the goals in. Where the fuck are our goals coming from? We've not got a talisman. We've not got someone who we can lean on like Griffiths in that season, the season after the cup final, where he dragged us through, completely dragged us. If it wasn't for him, we'd have went down that season.
That's an incredible statement, and it's absolutely bang on, considering you look at our forward line and think we should be absolutely flying, and yet they can't create anything between
People
them.
say this all the time on paper. What a brilliant attack we've got. What a brilliant group of players that we've got that can get forward and attack the game in positive ways.
That's what nae midfield and nae confidence does for a side, though.
Exactly.
That's what, even you can have the best front three in the world, but if you've got a shit midfield behind them, they're going to struggle.
Exactly. I genuinely think that's where our problems, in terms of not being able to see games out, is coming from, is the fact that we're not clinical enough. I mean, I don't know if you agree. I just want to quickly move on to the Ramblers' points before we kind of round off the episode with a quiz from Shaun. First up, we've got quite a few GIF reactions. John McIntosh says we are going down. This GIF, this man pointing down.
Fucking hate GIFs.
What?
I love them.
Fucking hate GIFs.
Okay, boomer. Bestie to
Send me a
Beastie.
JPEG any day.
Bestie to Beastie to Belgium says shite bags, the team, the owner, the CEO, the chairman, all of them. Kev Wilson says an absolute nothing statement that digs an even bigger hole for Gray to get out of, just kind of what you were touching on there, Craig. Peds Keenan has just put a gif of David Gray scoring the winner in the cup final. Nice one. Someone called Cancel Out at Hands Off HFC has put picture paints 1,000 words. And it says fuck you, fuck off, and fuck your process.
Is that Terry Butcher?
No, I think it's Malcolm McPherson.
It's got
Ian Gordon.
It's got Malky, it's got Ian, it's got Malcolm, and I think it's got David Gray on it as well, maybe.
Look at how Star Wars-y Malky Mackay looks in that picture.
That's some quality editing.
Execute Order 66.
Billy will be coming in his
Lauren
pants
Arnold.
hearing that reference.
Eh?
Billy will come in his pants hearing that reference.
Yeah, he will if he gets this far. Lauren Arnold has done this emoji.
Is that the wee melting one?
Why do you
No.
not just read out the statement instead of trying to
this emoji here, this one. Oh, you can't see it. It's the one. It's like when you did the colon and then like a forward slash on MSN. Like that.
The melon.
It was just all your chins. It looked like you were melting.
Kevin Swan says
Oh, fucking hell.
I think we need to end the episode soon, like.
I know. Oh, let me get round to this and then Shaun can take over with the quiz.
Wasn't even a small noise.
What?
It was a duck noise you made.
Kevin Duck says a lot of words say we're not sacking him until we've lost the Dundee and Aberdeen games. Fair play. Lewis Connor has replied with a gif of Dwight from The Office saying, "They are stupid and pointless." Fair play. Lynn Graham
these replies.
What?
A bit like you reading out these replies, try to describe the emojis.
Shut the hell up. Honestly, I'm fucking sick of you. Lynn Graham, sack the board or things will never improve at Easter Road. Kind of what we've touched on. Scott Mix says, trust the process with laughing emojis. You know what that one looks like. It just looks like a wee yellow guy laughing. Jake says, why bother? Lee Padgett, disappointed is my overriding feeling. Liam Hunter, time to start protesting. And Kyle says, most waffle I've ever read. So I think
I'm going to go and stand outside Easter Road holding up my season ticket.
I remember that. I think the general consensus is fuck's sake, basically. Really? Do you think? Do you agree?
Yep.
I think we've kind of captured the support perfectly. But Shaun, I'm going to hand the reins over to you because I kind of lost control there a wee bit. You can take us through this week's quiz. Tell us what you've got in store for us.
What you've got?
Not had control over anything in your life, Liam.
I've had control over so many things. I tell you that. Not my drinking, no.
Right, lad. International weekend. So what we have in play tonight is an international quiz. Okay. Kind of glad it's not just Liam here and actually have some other people to look at. Better look at
it anyway. You know what I mean?
And to try and make it a bit fairer, instead of there being 5 questions, there are 10. So hopefully Liam finishes bottom this time.
See, for someone who pays your wages, Shaun, you're awfully nasty to me.
Please elaborate.
Well, I don't know.
Do you know what's funny about wages, right? A wee side note. On the supporters bus a few weeks ago, there was a wee laddie on it who recognised me as being on the podcast, and like later on in the night, he said something along the lines of, "Oh, that guy over there will have loads of money because he's on the Hibs Ramble podcast." I was like, mate, we got about 3 viewers.
And the 3 of us watching it.
Anyway, sorry, that was a sidetrack. On you go.
That's funny, that.
Right, so 10 questions. You know the drill. I'll give you the question, and then I'll go around each of you asking for the answer, and then I'll let you know if you were right or wrong. Please try and keep track of your own score because there's 10 questions, and we'll fly through it this evening.
I've got a pen and paper, Shaun.
Question 1. Who has the most international caps while being a Hibernian player. So,
So
I'll
the-
repeat that.
the-
So I'll repeat it, Liam.
Okay.
So, who has the most international caps while they were a Hibernian player? So it doesn't matter if they left Hibs afterwards and then became an international superstar. They have to have been at Hibs while they got all these apps.
Caps
Right?
gained.
So
while
the
being a
person
player.
who's had the most caps while they've been at Hibs.
Aye, it's almost as if that's what I've just said twice.
That's not what you just said. You said it as if, because that could be David
Right,
Marshall.
Liam, just fucking get your answer done. Come on.
All right, and let me know once you've all got your answers.
Yep.
Okay.
Mark, you alive and well?
Sorry, I was just making a notepad to keep the
I'm
scores.
just Googling.
Cool. You're away. Right, Liam, I'll go with you first then, since you're top right on my screen.
I put Martin Boyle because Craig was hassling me for an answer.
Mark?
Oh wait, so it's not just Scotland; it's international, right? Oh shit, that changes everything.
Well, no, really. It just kind of opens it up a wee bit.
It'll be somebody ancient though, won't it?
I've got a sneaky feeling Craig's got it, hence why I'm not going to Craig before.
All right, so I've no got it right.
Well, I don't know. No Googling, Mark.
There's Marco into Google.
I don't even know how would you even Google that?
They say
I don't know.
Right, so Mark, no answer for your good self, right?
I'll say Gordon Smith.
All right, okay, cool. Craig.
Laurie Riley.
So, Mark, you're actually not too far off with your shout because Craig is correct. It is.
Yeah.
Can I have a stab? Have you got the number of caps?
Yeah, but you're not getting a bonus point for it.
No. But was it 55 caps he got?
While at Hibs, he got 38.
38.
I thought it would be one of the famous five, like an older.
Yeah.
Well, I was a wee bit off. Surely Martin Boyle can't be far off with 38 caps for.
He's got 28 for Australia.
Yeah, he's got to be aye.
So he's not far off.
Because I think there was a thing a few years ago about Eddie Turnbull only got like 2 or 3 games for Scotland, and they actually presented him with a cap at half time of a game.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a photo of that at some point.
Yeah.
Right, number 2. Which former Hibs player has the most caps for Scotland? And that's not just total. Not while they were at the club, just...
Next.
Jesus Christ. All right, okay, I think I've got it.
Wait, so which player has the most
former Hibs player has the most caps for Scotland?
In history?
In history. Not while they were playing at Hibs, just overall in their career. So if you think of the top 10, for example, Scotland's most capped players, which one is highest on that list that has played for Hibs?
You go first, McClendon.
Well, I was going to copy Craig and Mark and go down the famous 5 route, but I have trusted myself and went Scott Brown.
Okay. Mark?
What's funny about that?
I don't know. I just heard
Fucking
Craig
miles off
laughing.
the start.
Scott Brown's not even in the top 10 capped.
No.
For Scotland.
Well,
And I'll give you a clue. It doesn't matter. All right, okay.
No
Fine.
clues.
It wouldn't have made Mark get the answer.
Gordon Smith.
So the clue I was going to give is that in the top 10 Scotland appearances of all time, Hibs have 3 representatives. Craig, I don't want to know what the other 2 are, but just tell me the one that you think is number 1.
Jim Leighton.
That's correct. Do you want to make a stab at any appearances while you're at it, you nerd?
Kenny Miller.
No, that's not what I asked. I said how many appearances.
Oh, was it 91 he got?
Yep, that's right. Geek.
this screams of I told Craig the questions before we came on to record.
Right,
Mate, this is my bread and butter, you know that.
Question number 3. Which country did Paul Fennick represent at international level?
Don't fuck.
Next.
I think I know this.
Do you want to bring us back into the fucking 21st century with these questions?
Don't worry.
Technically, this one is,
One's
'cause you
pretty
put
much from
Hibs
now
in-
on or more recent because I was running out of historical questions.
Northern Ireland.
Canada.
Yeah, Liam, that's correct. And I was sure Craig, you would have got that as well. Okay.
Well, I just need to have Craig's confidence and just be like, oh no, I fucking know it, I'm not going to say it, and then I'll just get all the points.
Right. Number 4. Question number 4. Have any former Hibs players won the African Cup of Nations? If so, who won them? Or won
Say
it,
that again?
should I say? Have any former Hibs players won the African Cup of Nations? And if the answer to that you believe is yes, you need to tell me who's won it. And if
How
there's more than
many-
one, you got to name both
Aye.
or both for 3
And
or
do you
4.
get 2 points for that?
What do you mean?
Oh,
Like if there's
I know.
more than one and you get them both right, is that 2 points or is it just 1 point?
You'll get full points
A point for every player that's won it.
if there's more than one that's won it. If there's any that's won it. Stop trying to sound me out for a wee clue there, yeah, fuck it.
Do you get a point if you only name one and not all?
If it's
you get a point
right.
for however many you name.
So
Right.
if you say none and no one's won it, then you get a point. If you say one player and one player's won it and you get the player right, you get 1. If 2 players have won it and you name both of them, you get 2 points.
Okay.
Mark, you want to hit me with your answer?
I'll say 3.
you're just hedging bets now. Right,
Does that mean I get 3 points?
if all 3 of these players have won the African Cup of Nations and have been a Hibs player, then yes.
Benji.
Oh, sorry. Craig?
If I say 2, but only one of them's right, do I still get 1 point?
Aye.
Aye, right, okay.
Benji, Zamama, and Al Fagaguri, whatever his name was.
So 3 Moroccan players. Right. Liam. Hit me with your guesses, if there is any.
I've got one, and I didn't even know that he'd won it until I listened to David Martindale on Open Goal. Effie Ambrose.
Craig?
I've said 2, because, well, Effie Ambrose, and I don't know, I think Sol Bamba might have won it.
So, only one player has ever won the African Cup of Nations, and it is Effie Ambrose.
Effie Ambrose.
The year before that, Sol Bamba was runner-up.
Benji Zamama.
Good guess, Mark.
Al Laguli's our favourite, though.
Right.
I don't. Have Morocco even ever won it?
I think
Surely they're decent.
I think they have. I was looking at the history earlier on. Right.
Oh,
The last Hibs player to play at a World Cup. Now you only
Wales
get...
been at Hibs.
No. Just they have played for Hibs and they have played at a World Cup. The last player to do so.
Jason Cummings.
If it's correct, you get so if there's multiple correct answers, doesn't matter what one it is, you get a point.
It is Jason Cummings, is it not?
So,
Was it while they're at Hibs?
oh my
No.
God, he's just clarified
In
that.
general. And Mark, please fucking wait till I ask you for your answer, boy. Liam.
How many do you need?
It doesn't. You can just name one.
All right. Well,
You're only getting 1 point.
if Marcus went Jason Cummings, I'll go Jackson Irvine.
Craig.
Jason Cummings.
Correct. So all 3 are correct. So a point each. Can you name another player that was in that Australia squad that played for
Jason Cummings.
Jamie McLaren.
Jamie McLaren. Yeah, that's correct. Well done, Mark.
You're laughing. I got it right.
Does he get another point for that?
No, it's only 1 point available.
No, only one.
Question 6. Who is the manager for Scotland that chose not to call up Martin Boyle, which then led to Martin Boyle being capped by Australia? So I'll repeat the question. Who was the Scotland manager prior to Martin Boyle being called up for Australia? And this Scotland manager that was in charge at the time chose not to call up Martin Boyle.
I think I've got it.
Mark,
Was it Strachan?
Liam,
I'm going to say Alex McLeish.
Craig.
Alex McLeish.
Correct, Alex McLeish.
Shite.
Mark, have you got one right so far?
I did go with Jason Cummings, mate.
And he jumped the gun.
I got Jason Cummings, man.
You should have went for Gordon Smith or Benji for that one.
Or Farid El Alagui.
Right, question number 7, home straight. I want to know the top goal scorer for Scotland that has played for Hibs. So if you were to look at a list of Scotland's all-time top goal scorers, tell me the one that is highest up on that list that has represented Hibs.
I think I've got it.
Taking a guess at this one,
I think.
Liam, you could get back in the game here if Craig's got this, because Craig sounds like he's no sure.
Is this? Are we talking like if they've played in a trial list or an actual contracted player for Hibs?
But they were a contracted player for Hibs.
Well, you try to
Alright,
think about what Mark Kerr, Craig.
No,
Well, the goals that he
Dalglish.
scored for Scotland.
Dalglish played for Hibs in a friendly.
Who did?
Kenny Dalglish.
Contracted.
Contracted.
Stab in
Mark?
the dark, like. But
Liam can go first.
I
Is that so you can piggyback off his answer?
I think it's John McGinn.
Okay.
Is that close, Shaun?
What's your answer, Mark?
Laurie Riley.
Oh, Mark, honestly. Craig.
the answer was actually my answer's Laurie Riley as well.
No, it's not. I didn't believe you.
Nah, I said Kenny Miller.
Oh my god, honestly. So, fun fact, Kenny Miller and John McGinn are on the same amount of goals for Scotland. So you've both got a point. John
Yay.
McGinn's goals per game is actually better, slightly.
I think Miller got about 66 caps or something. What is it? They
Because
both
I'm
got
sure
19
that
goals.
like John McGinn isn't far off like being Scotland's top goal scorer ever.
Yeah, it's
Like he's not
31.
kicking on top of it.
Lon Dalglish share it.
If he scores like another 5 or 6 goals, he's in like the top 2 or 3, I think. He's not far off.
That's embarrassing, eh?
Mm.
Okay. Apart from John McGinn, this is more recent again, Mark, so hopefully steady in the right direction, get a couple points.
Gordon Smith.
Apart from John McGinn, name me the last Hibs player that scored a hat-trick for Scotland.
Oh, I know this one.
So again, they don't need to have been contracted for Hibs at the time, just have played for Hibs in their career at some point and they've scored a hat-trick for Scotland.
Is it Stephen Fletcher?
I had Stephen Fletcher as well.
Craig, what were you about to write down?
Gibraltar, Stephen Fletcher.
Liam?
I also had Stephen Fletcher. This was before Mark even said it.
I wonder if Mark gave the answer to Craig there.
I think he did because I heard Craig laughing.
There was a change in his face, wasn't there, Liam? Yes, Mark, it is Stephen Fletcher, you're correct. Point all round.
I thought that would have tripped someone up. Craig, what was your initial answer going to be?
I didn't know. Honestly,
You
I
can
didn't
still
know.
have the point, but who were you
As soon as Mark said Stephen Fletcher, because I was thinking
right
like,
enough, aye.
I was like, did Griffiths ever score a hat trick or did O'Connor or whatever?
Yeah, he scored 2
Yeah,
hat-tricks in 2015, both against Gibraltar.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure Craig wins.
As soon as he said Fletcher, I remembered the one that it was the one at Hamden.
Right, Mark, this question's a 50-50, so good luck. Question number 9.
False.
Which Moroccan superstar won the World Cup?
Which Moroccan superstar scored the winner in the African Cup of Nations final?
Benji or Zamama.
Claros played at the 2014 World Cup for Honduras. Yes or no? If you think he did, then raise your hand. Craig and Mark, I assume you think he did not play at the World Cup in 2004. And when I say play, I mean on the pitch.
That was
Oh.
his best spell for Hibs, mind you.
No, he was
Well,
away. He'd
after
been
he
away
left.
for a year by that point. No,
Well,
you know what?
I'm
going to
sticking
say
by it.
no. I'm going to say no because I think not long after he left us, he got half his skull blown off when he got shot.
No, that was before he signed for us.
Was it?
Yeah, I remember reading about it in the programme. He drove himself to the hospital.
Craig says no. Liam
I say
says
yes.
Do you know what? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to change my answer to yes.
He did play at the World Cup in 2014. Right.
Going into the final question, Shaun, can we have scores and doors, please?
Yeah, if I've got this correct, moving into the last question, Craig is on 8, Liam is on 7, Mark is on 3. So get this right and you win, Craig.
Has to be for multiple points for me to be on my chance.
Is it just for 1 point?
Quadruple or nothing for Mark.
Name the Morocco squad from the African Cup of Nations.
Laurie Riley up front. Right, okay,
Laurie Riley Loon.
Right, here we go. Who is the last Hibs player to represent Republic of Ireland?
Oh. While being at Hibs.
In general. And Craig, I'll take your answer first since you need to get the point to win. So again, I'll read the question once more. Who was the last Hibernian player to represent Republic of Ireland?
So this is just somebody with a Hibs history who was the last to represent them, like whenever that was.
Yeah, and just to clarify, it needs to be the senior Republic Ireland, not under 21s or 19s or schoolboys. Mark, do you think you know who it is?
Nope.
I've got a good idea.
Craig, I'm going to push you for an answer, sir.
Aye. Liam, have you got your answer?
Yeah, but I'm not saying it until you've said yours.
No, because I didn't want you. I was going to say Matt Docherty.
That's what I was going to say as well.
Since I can't win, I'm going to say Gary Deegan.
Unfortunately, yes, Craig and Liam, you are both correct. If you were to exclude loans, and this is going to be my tiebreaker, if you were to exclude loans, could any of you name me the last permanent contracted Hibs player to represent Republic Ireland?
I think I could.
Anthony Stokes.
James Collins.
Oh, that's a great shout, actually.
I mean, I've got Daryl Horgan down here.
Oh, Horgan. Oh, well, aye.
So, Horgan's later than Stokes, right?
Yeah, by a year, I think.
Yeah.
Although I think we tried for him in the year previous.
So there you go.
That was a good quiz.
Champion by a point,
You've
Craig.
reclaimed the belt. You've reclaimed the belt from me. I've had
Next time, make it a Hibs one, eh?
Mark, what would you like a Hibs-related quiz on?
Aye.
Loosely, and I will prepare one that you should excel at. So Liam likes squad numbers. Craig likes anything 1900s era.
All things Hibs between the year or in the 13-14 season.
Just the 13-14 season.
Yeah.
Right,
What the year we went doing?
See when we get to episode 202 and you make your reappearance, I'll have it ready for you.
Thank you.
The seat configuration in the Albion bar.
None of you peasants could afford being in there.
Mark's probably sat on every seat in that bar by now.
Ben Kinsel's.
He's probably sat on Ben's lap in every seat as well.
Fucking brilliant, man.
Right, aye. So, for those that have made it this far, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the quiz. If you have, by some chance, beaten Liam or Craig, let us know. If you've beaten Mark, that's nothing to shout about. So, very well done. And yeah, Liam, I'll bring it back to you for the close, son.
Yeah, of course. I tell you what, 8 out of 10, I'm quite chuffed with that. I think a poor start, Craig, but maybe kind of got back into it towards the end. Are you proud of me?
Craig's just happy to win again.
Yeah, Craig is happy.
I'm a bit annoyed that I've not got a full sweep because of a 50-50 that's a pure guess, but
You were ran pretty close. I remember Claros playing in that World Cup.
See, when Hibs start winning again, that's probably when I'll stop the quizzes.
No,
I love
keep the
the
quizzes coming.
I've only started the
Dick out
quizzes just to
said
make
they
the
like quizzes.
content a wee bit more fun and upbeat rather than talking about dour shite all the time.
remember, do you
No,
remember
get-
on, do
I
you
love the
remember on
quizzes.
Miniclip there used to be like that impossible quiz?
Oh yeah, I remember.
I'll do one for yous for Hibs.
Oof, no thanks.
Who wants that, Craig?
Me.
We will. Aye, well,
Who assisted the goal in a 2-0 win away to Aberdeen in 1988? No thanks, Craig.
what
I don't
colour
think we beat
was
Aberdeen away 2-0 in
Ruud van
1988,
Nistelrooy's
that's when they were winning
pants
the
when
league.
he scored a penalty against Arsenal? I
Well,
mean,
that's Man United, so that would have no place on the Hibs Ramble, but all right.
How many yards over the line was all?
Let's wrap it up, boys, eh?
Disallowed.
I know, I need to go away from my fucking tea. Right, listen, if you got this far, thanks so much. Get us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We are at the Hibs Ramble. And we will catch you after the international break. We'll probably take a break next week, unless there is any emergency news coming out of the club. But
Unless Marc
until
comes back just for a 2013-14 quiz.
yeah, until after the Dundee game, we will catch you in a bit. Bye bye.
Let's get ready to rumble.